What does the optimal relationship look like in terms of positive and negative emotion? You might say, well, utopia, nothing but positive interactions. It's like, no. Imagine you get people to code the interactions they have with their partner during the day. You sample it. You say, was that interaction positive or negative? And then what you're trying to do is predict the longevity of the relationship. Okay, so here's the data. If it falls under 5 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction, the relationship doesn't continue. Fair enough, too much negative. That's easy to understand. If it exceeds 11 positive to 1 negative, the relationship doesn't last. Why? No challenge. Right? What do you want from your partner? Bliss? No, you don't. You want periods of peace punctuated by a good fight. And because that means you respect them, means you have something to offer each other, and it means that you're both growing. And so you don't want the fight to be too dramatic because, well, then you retreat, you can't settle it. But the person that you can completely map and who only does positive things for you, it's like, A, you don't know that person. B, they're not communicating with you, nor you with them. Maybe they're just subordinating themselves to you or you to them. And you're not growing. A real relationship is a wrestling match. It's a grappling phenomena that you both emerge transformed from. And that's what people want. They don't want to push over. Not unless there's something wrong with them. A narcissistic person who never wants to be challenged will want a partner who does nothing but deliver exactly what they're told to deliver, but they will mistreat them beyond belief.
In order to tell the truth within a relationship, there are certain preconditions that have to be met. You have to have vowed to trust each other and both honor that vow and decided that that's actually the case. You both have to be honestly working towards what's best for each of you and the relationship. So you have to be oriented towards a positive outcome for the relationship. Then you have to have some humility, because let's say I tell you what's on my mind. We went to this, so I'm speaking to you as if you're my wife. We went to this party yesterday, and I saw you sitting in the corner with Mark, and you were a little too close, and I wasn't exactly sure I liked what was going on. But, maybe I'm jealous and stupid, and I'm completely off base with my characterization. And if so, I'd really like to clear that up, and so I'd like to hear your interpretation. And that's not false. It's well, maybe you were flirting, and maybe I'm a jealous idiot, or maybe a little bit of both. But wouldn't it be good if we could sort it through so we both knew? But if you're going to do that, if you're going to throw forward a feeling-based accusation, which can obviously be damaging to the other person, you have to accompany that with the willingness to assume that your fault might be as great in the error you're making with the accusation as the fault that you're pointing out. And that's another thing that stops people from being radically honest. It's well, I feel this way. Well, that doesn't mean I'm right. It might mean that I'm so warped that I'm feeling something completely inaccurate. And so by throwing that out at you, I'm going to have to look at me to see what makes me so bent. All of that stops you, if you're the least bit alert, from using the truth as a weapon, because it will absolutely backfire on you if it's actually the truth. I know these things are very difficult to attain. They're ideals, right? To do them perfectly, that's an ideal, and we all fall short of the ideal constantly, but that doesn't mean we can't strive to do it. And Tammy and I both decided when we got married that we were going to tell each other the truth, and that we provided by that to the degree that both of us were capable of doing that. So at least if it wasn't 100% honesty, it was an honest attempt on both people's parts, and that continues, and that's got us through some very hard times so far. And God willing, that will continue. So, but it's a real relief to have someone to talk to. Because now and then you find that you're in trouble, and you need to be able to say that you're in trouble. And if you're in trouble, you don't know what to do about it, because otherwise you wouldn't be in trouble. You would have avoided it or fixed it. And if you don't have a history of being able to tell your partner everything, essentially, then you're alone when you most need someone. And that's exactly when it's so good to be married. That's part of the strength of a marriage, is that there isn't just one of you, there's two of you. And that's better. It makes you more resilient and robust, and less lonesome, and all sorts of other things as well. Often you go to social events, familial events, but social events, where there's discomfort, there's unspoken discomfort characterizing the gathering. People are pretending to get along, but there's unbelievable tension just under the surface. That's why Christmas and events like that are often so difficult for people. You know, everyone's walking on eggshells and smiling at the same time. And like, it's really, really stressful to live like that. And it's way better to have the fight sporadically, sort things out so that now and then you can actually have some genuine peace. Because now, you know, there might come a time when you really need it. They'd rather pretend that the peace is there than work for it. That's the reality of it. I mean, it's often too because people don't know how to negotiate. They're just not taught how to negotiate. Our society is very bad at teaching negotiating skills. It's really too bad. But it's very difficult to establish peace in a household, true peace. And what's substituted for that often is, well, we don't fight. We never fight. Well, then you never talk about anything important, or one of you is rolling over, one of you is pretending, or both of you are, because two people can't live together and not disagree because they're not the same person. Plus, things are really complicated. Life is really complicated. And if you're not disagreeing about certain things, you're actually not thinking about them. You should disagree about your finances, because how to handle your finances mutually is a really difficult problem. And so if you're not disagreeing about it, that means you're actually not discussing it. You're not walking through the full range of options. I mean, thought itself is a dialectical process, right? It's a form of internal disagreement. Couples can engage in mutual thinking by taking opposing positions. And then you think it through. And because the question of how to arrange your household finances, maybe one of you works at a salaried job and the other stays at home and takes care of the children or something like that. Well, how do you divide the money? It's not like you're going to magically come up with a solution to that both people instantly agree on. It's a really complicated problem.
That's also something really good to know about marriage. It's like you can never win an argument with your wife. Like you could if you only lived with her for one day. Right. Right. It's like, I won, see you later.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's there the next day.
Yeah.
And then she's beat.
And she remembers that.
She does remember that. Yeah, maybe even more than you remember it. You know, and it also might be that she was right and you just out-argued her. So, you know, and that's something that's really worth knowing too, because sometimes, you know, you'll have an argument with, well, let's say with your wife, and she's got something to say and it's not very well articulated. The same could be true for you. And so you can just brush it aside. But you don't want to brush it aside because maybe there's something there, and if you don't address it, then it's not like it's going to go away, man. It's going to grow. So maybe you have to help her formulate her argument, which is really annoying, you know, because you want to win. You're having this dispute. It's like, I want to win. Well, you're the winner and she's the loser, and then that's great because now you're married to a loser. I mean, you know, if you do that 100,000 times, then your marriage is over, and then there'll be hell to pay. You can be sure of that.